Hey everyone, so I came across a very interesting concept about happiness and wealth. And what it is that happiness is not oftentimes the big goal in life. Oftentimes people think it is, and the more youthful and young and new to the world you are and uninformed, it can be the goal. And oftentimes it's something you should strive towards, but oftentimes there's more than that, and a higher purpose or something else takes precedence over happiness. And what I mean by this is that um, there are people who have achieved all they want in terms of happiness, and for whatever reason, they just feel empty or there's not much variation in their lives. And you see this a lot in wealthy individuals because they have the wealth, the money to really accomplish whatever they want. And unfortunately, what ends up occurring is that they just they're not fulfilled. You know, they have maybe the money, cars, um, and the women, and for whatever reason, they're not fulfilled. Now, is that everyone? No, some may be fulfilled. Um, and do I know this from personal experience? No, but um, I got this from Tony Robbins, who, if you guys don't know, he's a personal development, lifestyle, motivational speaker slash coach, and he's coached or talked to and helped pretty much every successful and famous person that's been around the block. Almost everyone. He's met or coached a lot of people. Um, from Leonardo DiCaprio all the way to some of the British royal family, Princess Diana, Mother Teresa, on and on and on. And he mentioned this in a recent podcast I was listening to that he did, and what he said was that yeah, I have met numerous wealthy clients who have had a lack of variety in their lives, and I think that's the key word, variety. And what they ended up doing was, even though they had happiness, they ended up having to change their lives or do something just to add variety. And this is something that I think it's very insightful when I heard about this. It wasn't the first time. Before that, I was listening to a paid product by entrepreneur Ty Lopez, and in it he mentioned how one of his friends, who apparently has like the fourth highest IQ in the world, was talking to him, and he said, "You know, I don't think happiness is what matters. What matters is having variety in your life. So that means having bad days and then good days and so forth. Because that variety allows for the, the good days to be good and the bad days to be bad. If every day was absolutely the same, that would work too, but again, it really just, nullifies, I guess, in his words, the real happiness that can come from the good days, or the gratefulness that can come from that, or just the normal days. And do I completely agree with that personally? Not really, because it's like, it really depends on like how varied they are. Because if they're too varied and your bad days are like you lose a limb or you lose a loved one, or it's just too stressful, and then your good days are too ridiculous in comparison, that's not a healthy, stable thing. But some variation, or I guess some level of um, difference, maybe a lack of boredom, um, maybe just a lack of a higher purpose, can be a important thing. And Tony Robbins actually gives the example of uh, the people who survived the Holocaust to those who didn't. So if you guys don't know, in the Holocaust, a lot of Jewish people were put in concentration camps with very little food, almost uh, horrible conditions, working conditions, the worst working conditions possible, and then forced to do all this stuff, and then starved to death, and worked very hard, and everything was taken away from them, and they were abused. And he said that the people who ended up surviving weren't the ones who um, were the toughest. It turns out to be the ones who took took the pain that they received and attributed it to a higher purpose or higher calling. And that's very interesting. Think about, um, if you ever read any books about the Holocaust or heard about it, it's really an experience that really jars you and pushes you to your limits. And the people who have come out of it, they have been sort of scarred in very deep ways that have just changed their beliefs and thinking. Apparently, instances occurred in where literally certain people of the Nazi party at the time, or Germans, would literally entertain themselves by watching a father and son strangle themselves for a loaf of bread. That's how hungry they were. And if one that ever experienced that in person, and this wasn't something like far off in history. It's like it happened like less than 100 years ago. That's not that far off. Like, civilization's been around for thousands of years. 100 years, that's like barely that much. Like, it can happen again, like, which scares me. And it scares me, like, what other potential darkness is out there in the world. But the point is, it was very ridiculous because these two, father and son, they were literally willing to strangle each other for a piece of bread. That's how hungry you can get. And so, that's a thing that really just, like, first off, it makes you very thankful. Second off, it's just like, at moments like that, when your primitive side just comes through, I mean, I see it in individuals nowadays who would easily, like, they're not even placed in those situations, and they're very primitive, very selfish, and that, like, if they were ever placed in that situation, they would strangle you. It really makes you think. But the point is, like, they had a higher calling, and according to Tony Robbins, I can't say I agree or disagree, a higher calling or purpose is really, according to him, what drives or is essential, because people think that pursuing happiness and that's important, but once you actually achieve it, and a lot of people don't ever achieve it in their lifetime, or their form of happiness, whatever they want to do in life, whether it's get a mansion or buy these cars, they end up getting it, and then according to Tony Robbins, they're not satisfied because they've hit a law and everything's just the same, and they've gotten all this stuff, and they're just seeking variation now. And the people with higher callings are the ones who really are more fulfilled and can keep going. Now, this is his interpretation of it, and I do think, first off, that happiness, and this is something I've sort of discovered, that it can be achieved right now at this moment. And it's very interesting because it just requires some basic prerequisites to a certain extent, and then higher levels of it can be achieved with stuff like community, friendship, and stuff like that. And what I found is that I've seen people who are genuinely very happy with their lives, and it's not because they're wealthy. They're not. It's just this whole, like, flow of all these things, like a community of friends, a work that keeps them going, that puts them in the right state of flow, that's not too hard, not too easy. All these stuff sort of come together, and there's different levels of happiness. And so, all these things come together, and then you get individuals like the Amish, who are just very, very happy with their lives, wouldn't change a thing, and they're not riding Lamborghinis or anything like that, but they're in a state of work that they love, and that's a very interesting place to be. And so I think it's all very interesting. As far as the variation thing, who knows if that's actually true? Um, but there you go. There you have it. And yeah, it's something to ponder at. It's I hope this video doesn't get you in the right place and uh, makes you think that these are all conclusions or uh, statements that can't be changed. It's more so just to ponder at and maybe deconstruct and scientifically think what's right or wrong and just make you think. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See ya.